All right, let's talk about business automation. If you've ever felt like you're drowning in an alphabet soup of acronyms, RPA, AI, whatever, you are definitely not alone. So today, we're going to cut right through all that noise and get to what really matters.
And to really understand the scale of this confusion, let's start with a number. A pretty staggering one, actually. 73%.
That's right, nearly 3/4 of businesses are confused about the difference between these key automation tools. And look, this isn't just some academic mix-up. Getting this wrong leads to millions in wasted money and automation projects that just completely fall flat.
So be honest. Are you in that 73%? Hey, no judgment here. It's confusing stuff. But I promise, by the end of this short explainer, you are going to have it all figured out. We'll break down what each tool does, what it can't do, and, most importantly, how they all fit together.
Okay, so let's start with the two technologies that really laid the groundwork for all of this, RPA and chatbots. I like to think of these as the programmed helpers. They're absolutely brilliant at their jobs, but they need to be told exactly what to do, step by step.
You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around them is with a couple of simple analogies. Think of RPA as a digital assembly line worker. It just does the same clicks, the same keystrokes, over and over again, with perfect accuracy. A chatbot, on the other hand, that's more like a company receptionist who has a super detailed script and a massive FAQ book. It's fantastic for answering common questions and steering you down a set conversational path.
So digging in a little deeper on RPA, the key thing to remember is that it's all about doing, not thinking. These software bots are just mimicking what a human does on a computer screen. So if you have a task that's super high volume and based on clear rules, I'm talking copying data from thousands of invoices into a spreadsheet, RPA is your perfect employee. It's tireless, it's flawless, and it works 24/7. And then you've got chatbots. Now, these guys are fundamentally reactive. They basically just wait for you to ask a question or type a command. Then they scan their knowledge base for the best possible answer. They're really designed to be that first line of defense, right? Providing instant, scalable answers to common questions, any time of day.
Okay, so here's the most important part, understanding their limits. This table really lays it out perfectly. Neither of them has any real intelligence or autonomy. RPA is just following rules. If a button on a website moves, the whole process breaks. And it can only handle perfectly structured data. Chatbots, well, they're stuck in their script. They can't take initiative or do anything they haven't been programmed to handle. They follow, they don't lead.
So, if RPA and chatbots are the programmed helpers, what's next? Well, this is where we get to the real revolution. Because if the first wave was about doing, this next wave, AI agents, is all about thinking. And trust me, this isn't just a small upgrade. It's a completely different way of looking at automation. An AI agent is much more like a project manager than an assembly line worker. You don't give it a list of steps. No, you give it a goal. It then looks at the situation, reasons through the problem, and figures out for itself what steps to take and what tools to use to get the job done. It understands the why behind the task, not just the how.
But that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How in the world does a piece of software actually reason? I mean, it sounds like science fiction, but the core idea is actually surprisingly simple. Believe it or not, the secret sauce is kind of hidden in this one simple phrase. Back in 2022, some researchers had a breakthrough. They found that if they just added "let's think step by step" to a prompt, the AI's ability to reason just shot through the roof. This technique, they call it chain of thought, forces the AI to break down a problem and show its work just like we all had to do in math class. And if you want to see just how big a deal this is, check this out. On a really complex math puzzle, a standard approach could only solve it about 4% of the time. But when you use more advanced agent-style reasoning, where it explores multiple different paths to find the answer, the success rate just explodes to 74%. That is the massive leap you get when you go from following instructions to actually reasoning dynamically. So, what does this thinking process actually look like in action? Well, it really boils down to 3 simple steps. First, the agent deconstructs a big goal, like, say, find me the best sales leads, into smaller, bite-sized tasks. Then, it reasons and creates a plan, deciding which tools it needs to use. Finally, it executes the plan. And here is the critical part. It adapts. If something goes wrong or it hits a dead end, it doesn't just give up, it learns, it replans, and it tries a different way. Okay, let's make this super concrete with our invoice example. You've got 10,000 invoices, and they all look exactly the same.
RPA is your hero here. It's repetitive, it's structured, it's perfect. But what if you have 1,000 invoices that come in 500 different messy formats? An RPA bot would fail on the very first one. An AI agent, though, can look at each one, understand the unstructured data, and intelligently pull out the right information every single time. That's the difference between blindly doing and actually understanding. So after all that, you might be thinking, okay, which one's the best? But that's actually the wrong question. It's not about versus. The real future of automation, where all the power is getting these technologies to work together. You know, the smartest companies are thinking about this like a 3-layer stack. At the top, you've got your chatbot. That's the face of the operation, the friendly interface talking to the user. In the middle, you have the AI agent. That's the brain, making the decisions and coordinating everything. And at the bottom, you have your army of RPA bots. Those are the hands, doing all the high-volume, repetitive grunt work in the background, all directed by the agent. This lets you build incredibly powerful workflows from just a single, simple request.
And believe me, this hybrid future isn't some far-off dream. It is coming way faster than you might think. In fact, Gartner predicts that a massive 40% of all enterprise apps are going to have AI agents built right into them by the end of 2026. Just think about that for a second. That is up from less than 5% today. This isn't science fiction. It is happening right now.
Okay, so let's boil all this down to your simple takeaway toolkit. Chatbots, they're your conversation specialists. RPA, that's for your heavy lifting, high volume, predictable work. And AI agents, well, they're the strategic thinkers, the project managers you unleash on your most complex, autonomous goals.
And that really leaves us with one last powerful idea to think about. For decades, automation has all been about giving machines better and better instructions. But now, for the first time ever, it's about giving them goals. So the real question is no longer how you're going to automate, it's what incredible goal you're going to set.